yellow boards today at the yellow board protest?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've got to keep the pressure up because although we've had some, backsliding and some pushback from government, and easing of restrictions, a lot of people might think that we're coming to an end, like, oh, it's all over, nothing to worry about. Well, they couldn't be more wrong, because the agenda, may have stalled a little bit, but it's not done with. They've not got what they want. They haven't got everybody. They haven't got the passports in place. Haven't got everybody having ID and social crediting. This is all going much further along. So this little recent pushback, this little kind of backtracking of everything, probably a result of the parties, all the government parties, what's been known as Partygate, and the fact that people have been able to see what's going on, all the shenanigans behind the scenes, and many middle England people are just absolutely furious. They're outraged at what they're seeing. People like us, we're not outraged at all because we kind of guess that they don't care. We kind of understand the situation, but a lot of ordinary people have been absolutely shocked and horrified at what they've seen with parties going on all the, a lot of the summer and everything, when other people were, they were being told to keep their distance and keep granny alone and, let granddad die alone in the hospital, all this stuff. So they're pretty angry, and I think some of the pushback is to do with that. I'd like to think it's to do with some of the marches we've been on and some of the protests we've seen worldwide. That I'm sure that has got something to do with it. But one little pushback doesn't mean it's over. So we have to keep the pressure on. So I'm kind of glad and proud that we're doing this today, because it's just a little, but it helps. Well, it's cold, and people get miserable, but I think it's worth the effort. We'll go in the city later, do a bit more, and we've got to keep the pressure up. This is the time, for us to keep at it until we hopefully bring this nonsense down, bring it to an end, or at least slow it to a virtual halt. We have to do what we have to do. That's it.
And how do you feel about how the media have only just released that Boris and the politicians were having parties during lockdowns?
How do I feel that they've
only just released that Boris and the politicians were having parties during lockdowns?
Yeah, well, that's all a bit suspicious. Politics is all about timing. It's like comedy. It's all about timing. So yeah, it's kind of strange. Perhaps they want him out. Perhaps they found a better leader. Perhaps they found that he's not the one to take the agenda forward. It could be all of the above. But nothing ever happens in politics by accident. Okay, so yeah, if it's come out now, there's a reason. Not entirely sure of the reason, but it'll come to us sooner or later. It'll become obvious. But yeah, I think he's on his way out. Who are they going to put in? I don't know.
How do you feel about if Boris went out?
Well, personally, I couldn't give a damn, because it'll be one Muppet going and another Muppet puppet coming in. They're all the same. They're all corrupt. They're all phony. They're all liars. They're all psychopaths. They really are a bad bunch of fellows. So it makes no difference to me. I personally think, since you're asking me, I think they may have their eyes on Keir Starmer as the leader, because he kind of ticks all the boxes. He's always wanted everything that Boris has wanted, but more so and earlier. So yeah, if you're asking me, I would say they probably are looking for an early general election, and then they'll probably want to get Keir Starmer or somebody like that to take this agenda forward. Then I think we'll really see the agenda accelerate again. Yeah. Don't forget, they've got other accelerators. They've got the climate change hoax that they can bring up and talk up, and there's also the situation in Ukraine. Nothing like a war to get people frightened again, and once people are frightened, they'll accept new draconian laws, and they'll accept emergency laws, and they'll basically yield to the government. So they have these other things they can bring up if and when they're ready for them. Yeah, so watch out for that.
And how do you feel about people who have only got just for the fact that they could potentially go on holiday?
Yeah, I think I can understand it, okay, yeah, but personally I think it's a really bad thing to do. if you ask me, I would never have to go on holiday or anything else. But other people, you know, I can see it why they do it. I just don't agree with it. I'm sorry.
And how would you feel if the politicians would be offered a raise in money? It's a question from a subscriber.
Why? What? They
just asked.
They earn enough already and they waste it and they do no good with it, you know. It makes no difference. Yeah.
And how do you feel about the cover-up of the that's happened from the...
Yeah, that's despicable, isn't it? That's totally despicable and it's criminal. That's absolutely wrong. And yeah, it's we need to address that. We need to change that. We need to expose it, you know. There is a yellow card system. There's a government website that has all the information. Not terribly easy to get to. I have tried to Google it and it doesn't come up straight away. Surprise, surprise, you know. So that's been shifted down in the algorithms. But yeah, that's really, really despicable. We need to, you know, do something about that. Get that out there. Get the information out.
And
it's important.
Sorry. How do you feel about how NHS workers were going to be fired? I know they're not.
Again, that was terrible. I even made my own placard about it in London, and I was right there when the nurses were throwing the uniforms over the railings in outside Downing Street. So yeah, I was glad to be part of that. For that aspect, I was absolutely with the nurses on that. I think the NHS in general has got a lot to answer for, though, and I don't think nurses are exempt from some of the criminality that's been going on. You know, just because they're not totally in charge doesn't mean they're not responsible, you know, for some of the bad actions. So it's quite a mixed question, or certainly a mixed answer to it. But as for threatening people with or a job, that is tyranny, isn't it? That is so wrong. So I'm really glad that they've done a U-turn on that for the time being. But I will say this much: I have heard, and I am suspicious, that they will, just because they've done a U-turn on that, apparently, I feel that they will still try and implement that, but just more on the sly. You know, like as they move from contract to contract or situation to situation, they will be heavily you know, required to, they will be heavily encouraged, shall we say, to be to the point where they will not be selected for the job. So I think that's going to come in one way or another, but it's still good to see that at the moment we've got this little bit of a break from it all. Yeah.
And how do you feel about how at the moment or in March, the Human Rights Act may be changed?
Yeah, I haven't looked into that. I've been really busy, but we need to look into that. A simple answer is, you know, we don't need them to change it because we don't need them to affect it. We are our own human rights, you know, we are human and we have absolutely innate rights. You know, we were born with them. They're nobody's to take away, only ours. They're nobody's to govern, only ourselves, and they're nobody's to change or modify for the sake of society, because what that means, that's a trick expression for, you know, we're going to take your rights away. So no, absolutely not a good thing. I'd like to find out more about what they're doing. I think we've only got till March the 8th to make a comment and to I think there's a questionnaire they're sending out. I think we should look at those. Everybody should look at those and you know, fill it in. But you know, overall, it should make no difference because our rights are always our rights, and nobody can take those away ever.
And how do you feel? Because I'm covering a story on the homeless at the moment. So how do you feel that some homeless have been offered £25 or a night in a hostel in the Norfolk in order to take the...
Oh God Almighty! That I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've met someone who has done that.
Disgusting. Well, what can that just makes me sick. Words fail me. I couldn't even comment on that.